Welcome to HERcast, the show where we explore health, empowerment, and resilience. I'm your host, Dr. Chito, and today's episode is titled Forever Young, Discovering the Keys to Lifelong Wellbeing. So in this episode, we embark on a journey to uncover the secrets to aging gracefully, vibrantly, and with vitality. Aging is a natural part of life, but it doesn't mean slowing down or losing your vitality. Today, we delve into the insightful questions that shed light on how we can embrace the journey of aging with health and vigor. Come on, we all want to stay young. We'll explore the diverse factors that contribute to healthy aging, from the significance of nutrition and exercise to the profound impact of mental health and social connections. We'll challenge common misconceptions about aging and unveil the truth behind achieving longevity and well-being. Now, this exciting part. Joining us today is the renowned specialist in geriatric medicine, Dr. Ogugwa Osiobu. Dr. Osiobu completed her residency training in internal medicine plus her geriatrics fellowship from the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania, USA. She is a pioneer geriatrician in Nigeria, contributing to the well-being of older adults through service provision as a clinician, training of healthcare workforce in West African sub-region as an educator, and advocacy and capacity building on issues as a member of the steering group of the Stakeholder Group on Aging Africa, an executive member of the Geriatrics Association of Nigeria. Presently, she heads the geriatric unit at the National Hospital, Abuja, Nigeria. So together, we're going to delve deep into the wisdom and expertise of Dr. Osiobu. She's not leaving here until she pours out everything out for us. This is going to be a really exciting time, so please do stay tuned. Welcome, Dr. Osiobu. I'm so honored to have you on HERcast with Dr. Chito. I know you're busy, so I'm really honored.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, and I'm excited to be here.
Awesome.
Any opportunity to talk about aging and just raise awareness so people can live healthier as they age. So thank you for considering this an important topic
Yes, it is,
to bring to the fore.
You know, I'm going to jump in with the first question I have, and hopefully this sets the stage. What are the key factors that contribute to healthy aging, and how do they differ from individual to individual? You know, some people think it's in the genes. Oh,
Right.
they have it in their genes, but
Right.
I think it's much, much, much more than that.
Definitely
So what
much,
are the
much,
factors?
much more than that. So we
Yeah.
talk about the wider determinants of aging. But first, let me say, so you don't age just because you've become 60 years old or 40 years old. I always start this conversation with, when do people think aging begins? And I've been in presentations where I ask that question, and you see a 40-year-old who's saying 60, or a 60-year-old who's actually saying aging begins at 70. So aging begins
Yes.
from birth. But we
Yes.
now have newer evidence that it actually begins from conception.
Wow.
So it's a life course effect. The impact of you living through, conception, early childhood, adolescent, younger adulthood, all of those experiences contribute to how healthy one would be when you're 60 or 65. And we use that ceiling 60. So when you're 60 and above, we say you're an older person,
Yes.
not an elderly.
Good, correct. Not elderly, older.
So, because you're only just older than the people behind you. Right. So
Yes.
you're an older person or an older adult. And we know that at that age there, it's an increasing risk for disease burden, but not everyone ages the same. So we really don't have one size that fits every older person, and that's the mistake sometimes we make. You just hear the age 75. Oh, that's a person is old. No, it's about functionality. It's about vitality. It's about what the person has desires for. So wider determinants that affect healthy aging. There are individual factors. What are your lifestyle choices? And those lifestyle choices are dependent on your level of education, your socioeconomic status, the environment that you grow in. If you've grown in an environment where herbal concoction is the water you drink every day, liver, kidney diseases would set in at a much younger age than someone who didn't go in an environment like that. If you're in an environment where there's so much insecurity, so there are individual factors, and then we go into the community factors, things like food security or food adequacy. Do you go in an environment where there's adequate food to eat? Adequacy in terms of even the quality of the healthy diet that you should have. Do you have good roads that allow you walk? Because we need to move.
Yes,
as
definitely.
part of the things that help us age well. If you're in an insecure environment, everyone is scared to move. A lot of my patients now will say, when I say, I need you to take about 10,000 steps a day.
Around the estate, around the house.
Right. And like, doctor, with this
Yes.
insecurity now, I said, you can do it around your compound.
Yes, around the house.
Because we all need to be conscious of the security issues.
Yes.
And then we'll come to national issues. Do we have a national policy on aging? Are there policies that ensure that older persons are included in our development agenda? When we talk about universal health coverage, if we do not include health coverage for older persons, we cannot achieve UHC.
Yes.
So it's all of these factors that really contribute to how we age. Now, if you go back to those individual factors, I talked about your lifestyle choices. If you're a smoker, you drink alcohol in excess, you're one that wouldn't go for a well check so we don't discover diseases in you early. So you come with diabetes, hypertension, and you already get a stroke at 50 or something. Compare that to someone who has the habit of ensuring that they actually go in for a well check every year. We discover conditions earlier. We can, deal with them without you developing complications from them.
That's
so multiple factors.
All right. So I think now I'm going to jump into nutrition. There's this habit that many Nigerians have in taking like so many supplements. So you will get maybe an older adult and you say, what do you take? And they'll say, I take vitamin A for this, I take this one for this, and I take this one for that. We have ones that we do recommend, but they're taking like so many, right? And also in nutrition, some, pick and choose what they eat based on what people say. So there's a lot of things about people linking, what you eat, which is there to how they are, but then also all these supplements that they take as well. So can you elaborate on the role of nutrition in promoting longevity? And also what these supplements, what do you normally advise? I know you see a lot of this where they're taking so many of this.
They come with a whole bag of,
yes.
like a moving pharmacy.
Moving pharmacy.
So I'm going to talk about the blue zones.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard about the blue zones. And it was very interesting when I came across, studies have been done in the blue zones. People just wondering, why is it that certain people live beyond 100 and others don't? And so this guy when in National Geographic went out to these regions and found that there are about 6 areas in the world where people actually live beyond 100. So they were termed the blue zones, and in fact they're described as a place where people forget to die.
Wow, that'd be nice. Forgetting to die.
Because life expectancy in most of these places are beyond 90. When the global for the world is really about 70, 75, 70 for men and 75 for women. But in these blue zones, people are living beyond 100. So nutrition was one of the things. They eat 95% of their food plant-based.
Wow.
Plant-based, so a lot of beans, a lot of grains, and fruits, and only 5% from meat.
You're breaking my heart. I don't joke with my meat.
And in lifestyle medicine now, that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Plant-based proteins is what we really want people to do more of. And then if you're going to do carbohydrates, make sure it's more complex carbohydrates. So in the blue zones, they do a lot of beans. They eat a lot of different kinds of beans every day. And beans are they have the plant-based proteins. They also have complex carbohydrates that give you energy. So that's one trick from the blue zone. The blue zones are also known to have terrain that allows people to actively move. So for you to get from one point to the other, you're just visiting your neighbor, you might be going uphill, downhill. So they're actively moving. So that's, one of the recipes too for living longer. Movement.
Yes.
People need to keep moving. So back to nutrition. We get a lot of vitamins, the required vitamins, if we eat healthy. But we do find certain deficiencies in older people that can contribute to disease conditions. So folic acid deficiency, B12 deficiency, we know have been linked to cognitive impairment. So those are assays that we would check if we actually have someone that we think is beginning to lose memory and all that. And we'll check for B12 and folate. And if they're there, we'll replenish them. Vitamin D level also. So when vitamin D is also not optimal, it also has been linked to worsening cognition or poor cognition. So that's another vitamin that actually I have been routinely checking in all of my patients. And I'm finding a lot of...
Despite the sun.
So many, exactly. So many with, almost 75-80% with low vitamin D levels. Optimal levels about 50, and you find some people ranging from 10 to 17, 25. So when we see those, we boost the vitamin D levels up. So those are the ones that we definitely know that we need. And then the other mineral is calcium.
Calcium, yes.
Okay, with menopause,
yes.
Right. With menopause, we need calcium for bone mineralization, because we know that with the increase in age, there's osteopenia, which at the extreme of that, meaning the bone density becoming
weak, the bone becomes
friable at the extreme, the one that we would describe as osteoporosis. Right. So, with little, in fact, they get a fracture. So those individuals...
women have to know that it accelerates once you get to menopause.
Yes.
It
does. And one way to actually, again, prevent that life course approach, exercise, physical activity, making it a way of life. So a lot of people are on vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin A. So
a lot of that.
All of the fat-soluble vitamins, we really don't want people to indulge in, because if you have an excess of it, it could cause problems. So A, D, E, and K, we really don't want people just indulging in them unless we find that there is a deficiency. But it's really folate, B12, vitamin D, and then calcium.
Do you know of any, I know there are some vitamins that, or brands that, let me talk about brands now, but I'm sure there are some brands that have the required, or is it like that at some certain age, older, they need to take more than the usual that you find in the multivitamins for older women? Or
only if one, and we do know that with aging, there are changes in the taste buds.
Yes.
That, that would make you start craving more saltiness, more sweetness, and some people might then not even eat right because of those changes. So in such situations, or if you have an older person who lives alone, we'll find a lot of this, in the developed world, where people live alone, they're not able to cook a good meal, and so they end up not really eating right, and they're not able to get all of their vitamins. They might end up needing to actually get more of those supplements. But if you're able to eat a healthy meal that has an accompaniment of vegetables and fruits, and then your proteins, you should be able to get adequate amount of those vitamins in. Those supplements cost quite a bit.
I'm saying they do cost money. They do. The good supplements do cost money.
They do. There are people who swear that, when I take it in the morning, I feel really strong and all of that, and you wonder if it's a placebo effect. But
and I think the advantage of Nigeria too, I think a lot, is they have everything organic. They have a lot. They have a lot of food that's organic, so they're not worried about some other mixtures.
You can go from the farm to the table.
Farm to the table. Yes. Right. You talked about physical activity. Is there a particular exercise that really Are there particular types of exercise that really benefits you as you are, aging in life? People say, when they told me swimming, I'm like, I don't swim. So that might not work, but but I know that's one. But is there any what exercise do you really recommend?
So walking,
for just getting
and
going?
You don't have to go and pay a gym to just walk. So the recommendation is that we all strive for 10,000 steps a day.
Yes.
In
I hardly make it.
So but keep pushing
to
yourself.
10,000.
So the trick is keep moving. So this is what I say to my patients: every 2 hours, you must get up.
Okay.
You must get up and move 500, steps or something. Go and pee. Go and get a glass of water. So
Use the stairs.
Right. So this is also what we recommend. Try and do as much for yourself as you can. We're in an environment where you have people at your beck and call. I said this to an older cousin of mine, and I said, "Oh, uncle, you need to go get your cup of tea from the kitchen. Go and get your water." And he looks at me. All the girls around are going to say, "Daddy, did we offend you or something?" Because they're used to doing this
Serving
thing.
him, yes.
So I said, no, let them know that it's a doctor's prescription. We want people to keep moving. Keep moving as often as you can. And for me, in my mind, whenever I'm asking someone to go get me something, and then I realize, oh, wait a minute, his heart or her heart is going to get stronger than mine. And I said, don't worry, I will do it. So that's the way we need to translate it. Movement. So walking. With increasing age, from about the age of 30, we start losing muscle bulk. That we describe as sarcopenia.
Okay.
So for muscle bulk loss to not progress, we definitely need to keep moving. Physical activity, so movement, women walking, jogging, whatever you can do, but also resistant exercises for each muscle group, so that you don't lose muscle as quickly as the aging effect would do. So having small weights that you put on your ankle, you're sitting down there, and then you lift your hand. Yes, exactly. And you can do the same, lying supine, and then you're lifting your leg backwards. So so in geriatrics we involve a lot of other disciplines. So I work very close with a physiotherapist. And so whenever I have people that I see are already losing a lot of muscle bulk, I refer them to the physiotherapist. But it's really about resistance exercises in addition to actively moving. Moving. Yes.
We forgot to even define your geriatrics, because how in Nigeria it's not very common specialty.
Right.
That people don't really understand that there is a specialty that caters to older adults. And so that's what I say, geriatric medicine caters to older adults. So it is a specialty of its own, and you kind of take care of really the whole patient. Do you want to say anything more about that?
Right. So unlike usual or traditional medicine, in geriatrics we're looking at all of those determinants. So it's not just about disease condition, but what are your psychosocial issues? What is your the social dynamics? Your home and all of that, and how all of those impact on what the person that we see. So it's a holistic approach, and in performing assessments for our patients, we involve other disciplines. So the physical therapists to help us with gait assessment, risk of falls, because that's one of the geriatric syndromes. Falls is the major. So also we nurses who are trained in providing geriatric care, pharmacists. We use all of these other disciplines to provide a multidisciplinary care approach for older people. Social workers, because they have a lot of social issues, so they also come.
Does that apply in Nigeria as well? I know social was very important. How does that work here?
So I have a medical social work team in the hospital, so I work very closely with them. The same thing with the physiotherapists. When I run a clinic, I actually have people come along, so that whenever I have people with certain issues, they can plug in. And so
that's very good.
And we now have an agency of government to cater to the needs of older people.
Oh wow!
It's called the National Senior Citizen Center, NSCC. It's actually been in existence for almost 2 years now.
So we don't hear things like, we don't really hear this.
Right.
We should.
We should. They're so we can research social media a lot.
Oh, then okay.
Right, and so they're supposed to cater to all the needs, and they're really focusing on a lot of these social issues.
Okay.
Sometime next week, there's going to be an unveiling of a curriculum for geriatric caregiving, in Nigeria. So geriatric social caregiving. So we want people to be trained, whether you're a family member who's looking after your older adult or you're a paid caregiver.
Yes.
You really should go through this training. And so there's a standardized curriculum. that will be unveiled by the NSCC sometime next week, so that
we'll keep
everyone...
We'll keep that in mind, because it's so important. It's really important.
It is.
All right, back to this. We're so, many things that we do in healthcare. I know in my field in gynae, I know it exists. They're very common misconceptions, and there are common misconceptions with aging, which you mentioned one or two already. Right. But what do you encounter in your practice, and how do you address those misconceptions that come with aging?
So I had mentioned this earlier, the fact that
everything's like yes.
Yeah. So the 75-year-old cannot see. Oh yeah, she's old. It's okay. So disease or disability with aging is a given, and we should accept it. Yeah. And unfortunately, even the older people themselves accept it. So we do a lot of education and counseling, even at the clinics, to curb what we describe as ageism.
Ageism.
Okay, that's really a thing. And ageism just means that we're discriminating, or we have prejudice against individuals just because of their age. And so an 80-year-old is not brought to the hospital when she can't see or can't hear, because the family feels, well, she's old enough not to see, and not, and she might feel, yes, I've lived my life. I don't want money spent on me that could be used to cater to the needs of my grandchildren. True. So there's self-ageism, there is ageism from the family, and there's institutional ageism, where even for me, when I started practicing here, and I'm calling a colleague to say, oh, I have this 90-year-old. I'm like, what, 90? Dr. Siebu, that person is already old.
Yes.
So it's not that. It's, does this person still desire to have access to good care?
To good care.
And, aging is a rights issue. We all have a right. We all have rights, whether you've been born today or you're 100. As long as you desire something and you have capacity to do it, there should be no impediment to stop you. No limitation, exactly. Which we find today, because we're a country that has such a youth bulge. So even an older person who wants to continue to be engaged is shy to even bring that forward, because Baba, you have lived your life. Can we give jobs to the younger ones? I
think that's why I admire Obasanjo, because he doesn't stop.
Right.
He keeps writing. He keeps doing.
Exactly.
Yes.
That is he's a poster child.
Yes.
For healthy.
He goes walking. He keeps writing a book. He doesn't let his age limit what he wants to do.
Why ever not?
Yes.
But if you compare that to someone in the village who never educated, there's no platform at all. It's almost like you can be seen, but we don't need to hear you. And those who develop cognitive impairment, it's even a lot worse for them. They kept away where nobody can see them, nobody can hear them. It's almost like they shouldn't even exist.
Once you're alive, with this quality, you deserve as much quality as anybody else.
Absolutely. There are those on wheelchairs, and I say, do you take her to parties when you go to your parties? Do you take her to church? Oh no, she's on a wheelchair. Yes, but she's alive.
She's alive, yes.
So let her do everything.
I also tell my friend that let her go for a walk. Right. She can walk. Yeah. She can't just stay indoors all day. She needs to see the air.
So it's a lot of education to let people see that even the older persons have a right to do whatever they desire to. They have a right to continue to engage with society. And by the way, they have a lot to teach us.
They do.
But if we don't create the platform for them to actually engage, then we will lose all of that. So we need to have a platform where there's some intergenerational interaction and synergy.
We really need it. We actually really need
that's one of the
intergenerational discussions right now.
That's one of the things that NSCC is trying to work on. Okay. We really should have senior centers where you might have the younger ones being the ones providing services, and the seniors are there receiving services, but also an opportunity, for instance, ICT.
Yes.
So the younger ones can teach the older ones about
how to catch up. Yeah. Instead of saying, "Don't worry, you're not tech illiterate." You're not tech literate. Exactly. And I'm like, huh? So we need to be able to connect ourselves into that intergenerational discussion. I can't wait for someone to set a platform that it actually does work. Yeah.
Very
I can't
important.
wait. So we've come to the end of this episode. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of HERcast. We've reached the end for this moment of this insightful conversation, but our exploration of aging with health and vitality is far from over. So join us next Saturday for the final half hour as we continue to delve into this important topic. Don't miss out on the journey towards lifelong well-being. HERcast with Dr. Chito is more than just a podcast. It's a movement, empowering, educating, and elevating her life. Join a community dedicated to living their best lives, guided by experts and thought leaders. Don't miss upcoming episodes on Rapid TV channel 176 on Star Times. Listen on your favorite podcast platform and watch full episodes on YouTube. You can also follow us at HERcast Podcast and at Dr. Chito.